And even on our hardest days, which so far haven't even been that difficult, I just feel lucky to even be in a position to change so many kids' lives. Hey guys, my name's Maylene from Mrs. Calls Campers, and it's been a minute. I'm so sorry. I just finished up my first month of teaching. It's been a month and a few days, so I feel like I really just want to come back to you guys, say hello again, tell you how I've been, what I've been doing, and do a little Q&A and talk to you about my first observation. I mean, my first month of teaching has been amazing and wonderful and crazy and stressful at times, but I feel like I haven't been doing as good of a job vlogging as I promised you guys I would do because of the whole hiccup in filming in my classroom. In case you are not caught up, I am no longer allowed to film in my classroom. So I've kind of set up like a little set. The spacing on the pictures is like throwing me off, and it's just things that I had around my house that I wanted to kind of repurpose. So I'm working with it. It's the best I can do right now, but I still wanted to sit down and talk to you guys, and hopefully Tesla just lays down. Can you lay down? She's like, what? So we can't play with this right now. She has this. Not gonna work. No. Tesla, no, leave it. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and just go and see if it's something you might be interested in doing, because I do share a lot about my day on Instagram. I post a lot about my room and things I'm doing. So if you're missing me on YouTube, I'm definitely on Instagram. I like to interact and talk with you guys on that. I think it's a lot easier than YouTube, just because it's like direct messaging as opposed to like going through every single comment, which I still do and I still love, but I feel like it's more personal on Instagram. I did do a little question and answer, and I actually printed all the questions because I left my iPad at school and I wanted to just like scroll through, but I can't do that, so I printed them. So of course I have so much to tell you guys. I mean, my brain is like overloaded with things I want to tell you about. But I just wanted to start by answering some of the questions you guys had about my first month, because I want you to get from this what you need to get from this. So here we go. I haven't even read the questions yet. That's okay. I remember on my last Q&A, someone was like, you really should have read the questions beforehand, but I don't have that much time. So Shani says, yesterday was my second day with my kiddos and we were doing a math placement test and it took some all day to copy and complete it. Do you have that issue? How do you get them to work faster? I teach first grade. I actually don't know what grade you teach, but I teach first grade, so I am very familiar with kids being very slow at things, and part of the struggle at the beginning of the year is trying to fit so many things in, especially when they are so slow. So some things that I do for my kids to work a little faster is just put on a timer or even just count down, because the second you give your kids a timer, they just like jump into work mode. And one of the things that I was struggling with personally was transitions, and I started using music to kind of help with our transitions. And you know, I used a song they know, and suddenly everything's happening and they're getting everything done. So timers are so helpful. I don't know if you do that already, but for my kids it's a really big deal. Even if I just want them to do something as simple like put away a notebook, if I count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, like they get it done. This is from Tyla. She's actually in New Zealand, so hello. Thank you so much for watching. I want to go to New Zealand so bad. She said, what were some things that happened in your first month that you were not expecting? And can I say everything? Is that a cop-out answer? Because so far these kids have surprised me in some of the best ways. I've also had kids pee their pants, just everything. You know, this is my first year of teaching and everything they do surprises me. And you know, sometimes I'll overestimate them, sometimes I'll underestimate them, but everything right now is so new that I don't know what to expect. So I feel like I'm not giving you the best answer, but everything. As far as like general teaching goes, I was not expecting all of the paperwork. Super overwhelming for me. But as far as the kids go and things that happen with the kids, I already had a kid move and I wasn't expecting that, and I liked him. Katie Hay 18 mentioned bonding with my kids, and bonding with my kids is something I've spent a lot of time doing, especially in this first month, because really we're building community in the classroom every single day. So in the mornings, whenever they come in, I always greet them. I hug most of them. If they're not really a hug kind of person, I'll just kind of like touch their back or just say hello to them. You can kind of understand and tell which kids want to be touched and which kids don't necessarily want to be touched, but it's really important for me to talk to them every single morning. So I'll talk to them when they come in, they're working on their STEM bins, they'll come and show me what they're making, and then when we do our little morning meeting, I'll ask them a question and give them an opportunity to share things. And we've just been taking these little moments in class to kind of celebrate each other. So I'm bonding with the kids, and I'm giving the kids an opportunity to bond with their peers, which is really important too. It's not just about me and them, it's about them and their peers. So bonding with them has been super, super fun. You know, I have kids who will bring me notes every single day or bring me flowers and things like that. So it means a lot to me that they know I care too. So the next question is, how has it been dealing with parents? So I'll talk really briefly about this because it's only been a month of school. But what I did is, I met most of them on registration day or our little open house that we did. I have, I think, almost all of them in Class Dojo, and all of my students have agendas. So most of my communication is actually in Class Dojo, which I really, really like, especially since Class Dojo will translate messages. So if I have a Spanish-speaking parent, I can send my message in English and then they will get it in Spanish. So it's been really helpful for that. But I haven't had any like crazy parents or anything so far. Everyone's just been really nice and wanting to help or hasn't talked to me. But I mean, I haven't had any issues or anything. And I am very focused on parent communication and keeping parents updated with what we're doing in the classroom. So about every other day, if not every day, I will post to our class story on Class Dojo a photo of the kids in something they are doing that day, whether it's writing or doing something. I post a photo and say, this is what we're doing, or I'll post a message at the end of the day saying, hi families, this is what we did today, just so they have something to talk to their kids about when they get home. I also am doing, I think, a pretty good job about communicating with parents about my students' behavior. So I go through just about every single day and I write in students' agendas, or I'll send a message on Class Dojo. Sometimes I'll do like a whole class thing and send one out to every parent, or sometimes I'll do specific kids. But I have a parent communication log and I go in and I check every time I send something home positive and every time I send something home negative. And it's been really helpful for me because some kids who, I need to inform their parents of their behavior at school when it's not the best. If I go through and I see that I've sent home a positive note, a negative note, a negative note, a negative note, I know I need to do a lot more positive. And I'm not saying I do that. I'm just saying it's really easy to see kind of the balance. And you always want to have more positive communication than negative. So that's why I try to communicate with my parents so often, because I never know if a kid is going to have a bad day, and I don't want the parents to feel like I'm only contacting them when their kid's having a bad day. Brittany Nicole Ashley asked how it felt to meet my first set of kids, and absolutely amazing. I mean, the first time I ever saw them was home visits, and that was really, really special. And then I saw them at registration day, and that was really special, and I could start to see some of their personalities. And then, the first day of school, the first week of school, I was learning all about them, and it just felt so surreal, guys. I mean, just sitting in the classroom with them and knowing that they're my kids has been huge. I mean, it's just such a different frame of mind from when you're student teaching and someone else is in your room to going to having your own room and your own kids who call you the teacher, who come in every morning and say they love you, who give you hugs. It is a really, really powerful thing, and I have loved every minute of it. Jasmine Marie 17 asks, so what has been one of your hardest struggles so far? And there's a lot of things, you know, as a first year teacher that I feel like I'm struggling with, and I know a lot of those things are gonna go away with time and with practice, but I remember feeling so incredibly overwhelmed at the beginning of the year because there's so much paperwork and I just didn't have a good system in place to handle it. And I know it sounds so just paperwork, really, that was your struggle, but it really was, because you don't know everything that you're gonna have to get, and you have to go through these files and make sure things are in the files and make sure you have this for these people and copy this, and it's a lot of paperwork, and that was really stressful to me because it was so important. Another thing that's been a struggle is time. And of course I can't help it, and I'm gonna have to work on this all year long, but it's the feeling of not having enough time to do everything. And part of that, like I said, is because they're so slow right now, and that's okay, we're working on it. And I know a lot of other teachers on my team and just in general feel the same way about not having enough time to do things. So that was something that I also wasn't expecting, because you look at a school day and you think, I have this many hours to teach these kids these things. But then you break it down and you have lunch and you have recess and you have snack and you have planning, which you don't get planning a lot of days too, because you're meeting with your team or someone's coming in and talking to you. So time management is something that I'm really trying to hone and practice and get better at, and really get us into a strong routine. So thanks, Jasmine. So Ronnie Plans also asked, biggest struggles this year so far. I know I kind of just answered that question, but it's funny that your name is Ronnie Plans, which I like you and I like talking to you on Instagram, but one thing I've been struggling with is planning, and let me tell you why. We get a certain number of minutes each day to plan. Of course, if you're a teacher, you know, you meet with your team some days, this has been an issue with this watch band. But you don't get all of the planning time that you're necessarily intended to get, which is fine. But I found that I have been spending so much time at school, guys, like hours after school into the night, you know, hours when I get home, hours on the weekend. And I definitely have been over planning just a little bit, and I think that's okay. But I just want to get better at my routine on planning, because like I said, time management has been a struggle for me, especially with planning. And part of it is because I want to be the best I can. Part of it is because I want to spend the time to, you know, make sure I have the best resources for them, making sure that I have things for my kids who are lower, making sure I have things for my ESL kids. Like, I think I just spent 10 hours making a pack for my ESL kids so they have something that's going to be worthy of their time. So I think I've just been spending so much time setting things up in my room, and I think as the year goes on, it's gonna get better. I'm not gonna be there, hopefully, till 6 or 7 every day. I'm not sure. But right now, it's kind of my life, and it's not been making me the happiest I could be, because I want to come home and just relax, but at the same time, I'm excited to plan. So it's kind of a struggle, but I'm working on it. Oh my gosh. Joanna Wergus? I'm so sorry for butchering your name. Joanna Wergus said, do you still wake up to only one alarm? Because you've been trying to, right? No, I was trying to. Technically, I have one alarm, but I snooze it. I know, I'm terrible. I just recently started getting more into Mel Robbins, which one of my friends on Instagram, Give That Girl a Snack, you know, showed her to me for the first time, and I was like, okay. And then I kind of got brought back to her, and she mentioned how terrible snoozing alarms is for your body. So I'm trying not to do that, because it makes total sense. She said that, like, whenever your alarm goes off, your body is in wake-up mode, and, you know, of course you go through these cycles of sleep that take, I don't know, like 60 to 90 minutes, and when you hit snooze and go back to sleep, your body wants to complete the cycle of 60 to 90 minutes, and I don't know the science behind this, I'm just saying what she said. But, so it makes sense that you're more tired when you snooze your alarm than if you just wake up. So I've been trying to just wake up, but I'm not the greatest at it. Ellie Skelton 96 said, how did you handle the stress of your first day of teaching? And I don't really feel like my first day of teaching was stressful. Honestly, it was a blur because it was so exciting and so new. I don't even feel like my first week was that stressful because it's not like we're doing a whole lot of planning that first week. So I really wasn't stressed my first day or my first week, and I was nervous, but as soon as I got in front of the kids, everything just felt so natural. So yeah. Alexandra said expectations versus reality, or things you didn't expect. I've already kind of touched on the things I didn't expect, but expectations versus reality, I kind of like that idea for a whole other video. So Alexandra, I kind of want to save that idea. Mommy to Minions said hardest part of the day. And what I've noticed, and actually this kind of goes along with things I wasn't expecting, even though it makes total sense, is my kids are usually really, really great at the beginning of the day. Like really, really great. And then lunch comes and they fall apart. And it's been something that's, you know, been pretty consistent. After lunch, their behavior just goes downhill. And you know, I noticed today when I was at a PD, because I was at a PD all day long today, that after we went to lunch and we came back, I was a little disconnected. And so it's hard to blame the kids for it, because I was doing the same thing. But after lunch, we finish up writing and then we have math. And so I think what I just need to do is make my math more hands-on and engaging for them to kind of combat that disconnect they feel after lunch every single day. So yeah, Mommy to Minions, after lunch is the hardest part of our day. And specifically, I would say math, just because at that point in the day, they're tired. And you know, like I just said, I totally get it. I really, really get it. So that's gonna take a little bit more work on my part. She also asked me, lesson planning seems so daunting when planning out the entire day. Any tips? And yes, I have, sorry. Yes, I have tips for you. So as a team, we do come together and we plan. And we have a group that does math, and we have a group that does reading, and then science or social studies, because we integrate those subjects into our reading block. And then we come together as a team and we bring it all together and make our lesson plans for the week. And I always take those plans and put them into my binder, because I do tweak it a little bit based on, you know, where we are in the classroom, or if there's something that I really want to do that the team is not doing. So as far as lesson planning for the entire day, I feel like it's easier if you think about the goals you want to accomplish by the end of the week and work backwards. Taking one subject at a time, whether that is reading or math, the first thing you need to do is figure out your standard. And this is not a lesson planning video. This is just a very brief tip, but you know, you always have to start with your standard and then go into what do your students need to do by the end. And then it's easier to think about all the steps you need to take to get to that point. So everything you do every day should be something that's leading you to that end point for your kids. So I don't plan a day at a time, I plan a week at a time per subject. So when I'm looking at reading, I'm thinking, what do we need to do this day, this day, and this day to meet the end goal? Then I look at math. What are the things I need to do this day, this day, and this day to meet the end goal? And like I said, we intertwine science or social studies into our reading for the week. So that's kind of what I do, and I hope that helps. Brittany Nicole Ashley also asked, was it hard to plan since it is your first time doing this? And honestly, no. I don't think planning is hard. I think I just spend way too much time on it because I want everything I do in the classroom to be the best it possibly can. And I know it can't always be the best, but I'm always just spending so much time looking for like the best thing. And do I need to do that every day? No, I don't. I think I waste too much time. But it wasn't hard for me to plan because I was so used to doing lesson plans in college that are like 7 pages long. So it was actually really easy. And once, you know, I started getting that teaching experience on my own with my kids, I could kind of see like, oh, really? I just need an activity for this time, an activity for this time, and something for this time. Because I was over planning actually, so I don't think it was too hard to plan. And once I actually sat down and like looked at my standards and the resources that, you know, my district gave me, not hard. My Pace says, do you think college prepares you for actual teaching. And I do want to do a whole video on like my college experience, student teaching experience, all of that. I promise it's coming. I know I've been like telling you that for forever, but it's coming, I promise. Yes and no is kind of the short answer. I do think everything I did in college, maybe not everything, but most of it was necessary to get to the frame of mind that I'm in right now. Some of the things that make you do in college, and it's different for every single person, some of it does not matter whatsoever. Some of it is actually really helpful, and this sounds kind of cheesy, but developmentally, for you as a teacher, it's really helpful. And you know, in college, like I said, they make you write lesson plans that are so long. But when you're a teacher, you're still thinking about all of those different things. You're just not necessarily putting them in your lesson plans. Now, granted, some teachers have to have detailed lesson plans. My school is not one of those schools, thank goodness. But I did have to do one like that for my observation, which I'm going to talk about shortly. I feel like my hair looks like terrible and flat because I've been like at a PD all day and my hair can't stay good looking. But I also have another question from Shanice. I don't know how to say the name. And she just said class management, and I do want to do a video on my class management. So stay tuned because I'm still tweaking it, and it's getting so much better. September, and it's getting better. Teach Mamari says, does your state have teaching standards that you abide by, or is it principal discretion? And I feel like I've kind of answered this question when I talked about lesson planning, but yes, we do have state standards. I do look at my state standards, and you know, we have the notebooks that have, you know, math and English and science and all that in there. And you know, all the PDs at the beginning of the year are on standards, so at least you understand them, and I always reference them. It's the first thing I do whenever I plan my lessons is I have a document for my standards, and I'll put in my standards and my I can statements, and I will post them every week in my room. Not necessarily for the kids to look at, because they're not going to look at it. It's for me, and I go over those standards every day with my kids. We do the I can statements, they get up, they say them. It's great. So yes, we do have Tennessee state standards that we use. Jackie said, how do you control the situation when a kid is acting up? And this is a very broad question, but it's also really, really important because there's a couple things I do. We have Class Dojo as like our classroom management program that's school-wide, so every kid is on Class Dojo. All the teachers, all the instructors, all the staff, they're on Class Dojo so they can take points and give points. But as far as like kids acting up and how I control the situation, it is so dependent on what's happening. If I'm teaching whole group, a lot of times if they're distracted or something, I'll just interject their name into whatever I'm reading or what I'm saying. And when they hear their name, they kind of pop up. Sometimes I'll like continue to teach and I'll put my laser pointer on them. If they're like over here playing with the carpet or something. Sometimes I will just give them the look when I'm teaching and they know. But sometimes you have to stop what you're doing, get down to them and say, what are you doing? Should you be doing? What are you gonna do? You know? Sometimes you have to have that one-on-one conversation if they're being so disruptive like that. For the most part, I don't really have a lot of kids acting up. What I do have is some chatty kids. What I do have is some kids who want to just avoid school any way they can. And so my biggest thing is trying to keep kids as engaged and as motivated to learn as possible. And I will talk more about this in another video, but trust me, that's definitely something I'm practicing every single day. So I don't necessarily have any huge behavior problems. I don't have any bullies yet. I did have an issue where one of my kids was stealing things. So that was really hard. And I know that I was trying really hard not to take it personally. And what I ended up doing is pulling in it's like a courtesy officer we have at our school, and he is absolutely amazing. And I actually got him to come in and talk to our classroom and to the kids about stealing, and the next day I had everything back. So, Haley Kroner said, classroom management tips and advice. Do you do whole brain teaching? And favorite callbacks. I'm gonna work backwards. So some of my favorite callbacks are pretty basic. I like waterfall and the kids say shh. gosh, it sounds like a waterfall. I really like that one. One thing that's really important is being able to get your kids' attention. So in addition to a strategy that I'm going to tell you about, I really like super simple. I say hands on top, they say everybody stop. This is a really, really good one, and they always do it. Whenever we have like a fire alarm or something like that, I'll say it and they'll stop, and then I will calmly tell them what we need to do and direct them. If they're in centers and things aren't going the way they should be, hands on top, everybody stop. I mean, there's so many different like ways you could use it, but I like that one. We've been doing a lot of like cheers, like rooting for each other. And I saw this video on YouTube, and it was a teacher doing, I don't know, some kind of callbacks. And so I picked it up from there, and I taught it to my kids like that. And they picked it up super quick. And one of them is like, give yourselves a woo woo. So they'll go, so they'll like clap, clap, down, down, whoop, whoop, and just fun things like that. And you can make up literally whatever callbacks you want to use. Miss Fifth on Instagram has like a ton of really good ones. I don't have a ton of callbacks, so maybe I should do more. I don't know. Do I do whole brain teaching? No, but I do incorporate a lot of movement into my lessons. A lot of movement. So even when we do our I can statements, I'll have them stand up with me and we'll say, I can, and they'll say I can, and I'm like, describe the key details in a text. So whatever our objective is for the day, I'll have them stand up and I'll put a motion to it. All of our sight words have motions to it, and they're not motions that I come up with, they're motions that the kids come up with. The I can statements I come up with because it's just quicker that way, but it really helps link it. But I tell my kids all the time, their body, their hands, it's connected to their brains. It's what helps them learn. So we have a lot of movement into our classroom. So I don't think I necessarily am doing whole brain teaching, but I use a lot of movement. Classroom management tips and advice. I love my doorbell. Y'all, my doorbell was donated to me, and it has been the best thing ever. I use it whenever we are like cleaning up and things like that. They know what it means. It's great. It's beautiful. I, of course, like to use songs in the classroom. I like to have the lights down low in the classroom, but yeah, so there's just a couple things I do. Amber Bowers 123 said, how are you handling different behavioral issues? And I do have a couple different behavioral issues, and I've kind of talked about that, but honestly, it's different for every kid. You know, some kids, if I take away a dojo point, they're devastated. Some kids, if I take away a dojo point, they might be devastated for like a minute and then go right back to what they're doing, so it's not as effective, and that's just how it's going to be. There is nothing that's going to work for your entire class, but I don't know if I mentioned this in a video yet or not, but I totally bribed my kids for centers. Totally bribed them. I give them cookies on Friday if they do good during centers, because I was just having such a hard time with centers. They were not doing what they were supposed to be doing, and I've done a couple things since then, and now centers are the best part of the day. I love centers. I love them so much. I reward them on Friday with cookies if they do good in centers throughout the week. So I'll give them like a smiley face for literacy centers, a smiley face for math centers, and if they have them by Friday, they get homemade cookies from me. And you know what? I can spend $2.50 a week on cookie dough and bring cookies in for my kids if they work hard for me. That's what I do. And you know, some people might think, you know, your kids should really just do it, but I want to spoil them. I'm gonna be a terrible parent. So yeah, I will do a whole video again. I will do a whole video on centers and how I do them. But I will say, if you haven't been to my Instagram, check it out, because I have a post talking about what I've been doing in centers to keep my kids accountable. So overall, I just want to say I feel so lucky, so lucky to get to be a teacher. And I was so worried about not having a job. I really was, guys. And the fact that I got a job at a school that I really love, I am so grateful for it. I can't even tell you. Somebody on Instagram, not part of like the Q&A, they just messaged me and they said, you know, how are you staying so positive? I'm going through some of the things that you're going through, and how do you stay so positive? And it's because honestly, I have wanted this for so long. And every day in student teaching, I was thinking about my own kids one day and what I would have and what we would do. And I just feel so lucky to be, for one, at a school I love, two, to have the class that I do, because, and I know every teacher probably thinks this, but I think they are so special. I care about them so much, and even on our hardest days, which so far haven't even been that difficult, I just feel lucky to even be in a position to change so many kids' lives. And it sounds so cheesy, it really does, I know it does, but that's really my mindset. And so, and you know, I always go home smiling, even if I've had a hard day, because there's always something, there's always some part of your day that's good. And if you really genuinely think you've had a terrible day at school, or your kids are just not listening to you, do something while you're still there to change your thinking, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, like, there have been days that are difficult. Like yesterday was so difficult with my kids. After lunch, I tried so many different things during math to get them engaged, and they couldn't handle it, and I had every single one of them write me an apology note. And this was something my mentor teacher did for me, because the kids that were her kids were disrespecting me, and they all wrote me notes. And when they gave me those notes, they were genuinely sorry. So yesterday, when I had so much difficulties with my kids, I had them all write me apology notes. Some of them can't write, that's okay. They drew like a heart, and then they all read them to me. Whenever they were finished, they came up, they said, "Miss Call, I'm so sorry for this, this, and this." And if the kids who, you know, didn't do anything wrong, they wrote, "I'm so sorry that some kids won't listen to you." And I was like, "You're good, thank you." But I always find something to be happy about, to be grateful for, and I have so much to be grateful for, not only with my kids, but with you guys. I just feel so incredibly lucky. So staying positive is something that's really important to me. So overall, I do want to say my first year of teaching was definitely not at all what I expected. Like, I had no idea what I was really getting into. And part of that is because you just can't know. You just can't know until you get your own classroom. And I hate to sit here and tell you that, but it's true. And it's going to be different everywhere where you teach. Even if you teach in the same building, it's going to be different in your classroom. But there were so many things that, you know, I was figuring out, and I felt like I was struggling with things because I felt like I should know everything, but I didn't know everything. I want to say that I've had an amazing mentor. She will literally print things for me and bring them to me and remind me about things all the time, and I would probably be in so much trouble if it wasn't for her, because there's only so much I can handle right now. And I'm telling you guys, like, the emails, I probably have like 20 emails right now that I have not looked at, that I need to look at. There's so many emails, there's so many papers, there's so many things that you just need to keep track of. So there's been days where I felt like a complete failure. There's been days where I messed things up, and I messed things up for like my team, but it's okay, because there's been those moments that have made me feel like a real teacher, like I know what I'm doing. And of course, I'm not going to feel like that every single day, but I'm doing my best to feel that way, and to feel like I'm doing everything I can for my kids. So my first month of teaching, and I want to say that it's gone by so quickly. And part of me is like hoping the rest of the year doesn't feel this way, because I feel like already my time with them is so limited, and I hate that. But yeah, so far I've had a great first year. Look at me getting ahead of myself. I had a great first year, guys. I had a great first month of teaching, and when I say that I'm supported, I mean I am so supported. When I say I love my school, I love my school. I think the programs in my school are great. I think the fact that we have houses is great. I love how they've adopted a little bit of the Ron Clark Academy beliefs into our school, if you will. And I mean, just about every single person in the building is willing to help you if you need it, and they'll smile at you in the hallway, and it's just such a positive place to be, and I'm just happy.